I'm Hope from @Hawthorn, and in this video I'll show you how to shade 3 colors of floss together using brick stitch, which is also known as the long and short stitch. Start by making a single straight stitch from the top of your shape to your first guideline. I have just 3 guidelines here, but you can draw more depending on how long or short you want your stitches to be. Next, bring your needle up in between that guideline and the top of your shape and lay it down just next to your first stitch, much like you'd lay down a stitch in satin stitching. Repeat this pattern of long and short stitches until you have the entire top portion of your shape filled in. I like to start in the middle of my shape and work towards the outside of the shape because it helps me to keep my lines more straight as I go, but you don't have to do that if you'd prefer to start from one side. Earlier this week I posted a tutorial for how I like to do brick stitch when I'm working with just one color of floss. It's a bit different than what you see here, but produces the same exact texture. I'll leave a link to that tutorial in the description of this video. If you're having trouble with this stitch, I think it's easier to learn it using that first method before moving on to what I'm doing here. I've sped up the video here just to get us to our second layer when I'll switch to my second color of floss. Now I'm ready to move on to my second color, which is a lighter shade of blue. Using my first layer of stitches as a guide, I'll stitch following that same pattern of long stitches and short stitches. Again, I'm working from the inside out here to help me keep my lines a bit straighter as I go. Just like my first stitch was from the top to a guideline, this first stitch in a new color will be from the guideline just above down to the next guideline. Next, I'll start from the middle of my current section of guidelines and bring my needle back down through the middle of the top section. I'm not splitting my floss here, but there are methods in stitching where you might split your floss to get an even greater blending effect. I've sped up the video here again to get us to our third and final section. For this third and final section, I'll be stitching with my lightest shade of blue, and I'll be following the same steps I took for my second section. I think these shades work great for the purposes of a tutorial, but you can always choose shades that are even closer together visually to produce a more effective shading effect. Once again, I've sped up the video here to get us to the last portion of the tutorial where I show you how I like to finish this stitch when I don't want to be left with a jagged edge at the bottom. To finish the bottom, I like to use the same color as my last section. I'll be bringing my needle up from the bottom and down through the middle of that last set of guidelines. Make sure to check the description of this video for helpful links to thorough tutorials on my blog, where I post detailed, beginner-friendly, step-by-step instructions in written photo and video form. You can also find full embroidery kits, patterns, and embroidery supplies on my website. And I hope this was helpful. Happy stitching!